Why am I so grainy? Mm-hmm. All right, so I have that. Don't want all participants to share screen. I only want Rob. Hold that thought. There we go. Hello, hello.
You can see me okay?
I can.
Awesome. How are you?
I am well. Ooh. Clicking through it all.
Mhm.
Just making sure I got everything.
Yeah.
There's Kristen.
The producer.
Mm-hmm.
Hello?
Miss Kristen.
How
How
are
are you
you?
guys?
Kristen. So I don't know how to make it so we only see Rob.
So
You want to speak?
I know how like individual people can change that on the top right where it says view, then like I can change it so it just says speaker instead of gallery, because gallery will be everybody.
Fabulous. There it is.
But I don't know if you have a setting as the host to change that so it's, forced upon everybody else.
So I just hide my self view, maybe? No.
I think that just does it for your own screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you have extra options somewhere as the host.
No.
Okay. I'll Google it. Let's see if I can find anything.
There's so many options. All right, I do have it so you can share screen, Rob, just so that way you know.
Okay. If I ask you to pull up a slide, you can do that, Kristen, then?
Yeah,
Um,
it allows all
Okay.
participants to.
Okay, awesome.
So you can share it too, then you can share your screen if you need to, Rob, if you
Okay.
want to be the one to control it.
Okay. It would probably only be like a couple slides, you
Okay.
know, 14 or 15. That's probably in the middle. Other than that, I don't think it'd be necessary, but it might be good just to break it up once in a while to do that if you would.
Sure.
Maybe I'll call it out if we got to do it.
Okay. I'll just
Um,
keep it up if we need
okay.
it.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
So now, Kristen, looking at your screen, do you just see me?
No, I still see myself and Rob.
Okay.
So I think those view options are just for, you know, each person's view. I don't know if there's a way for the host to, you know, dictate that view.
Right. So I have it so it hides profile pictures, so people should not, like, we shouldn't be seeing a whole bunch of stuff on the screen.
Okay.
You have people waiting to get in already, or?
Yes, sir.
Cool.
Very cool. Great job. Great job.
So I have that all new participants will be muted coming in.
Good. And I'm going to be on mute unless you need something. And I'm also going to watch the chat
Fabulous.
in case there's questions. And do we want to try to just have questions at the end, ideally?
Ideally, yeah. All right, if you're ready, I'm gonna open it up here.
Ready to go?
Yep.
Okay. Let me click the button. And admit.
A lot of doorbells.
Everybody's hopping on. I know. Lots of chiming in. All right, everybody, if y'all just want to mute yourselves, shut off your videos, we will get started. I think I got everybody. Hit the button. We're almost there. Everybody's chiming in, so we'll give it just a minute or two here for everybody to get connected.
Traffic's a little backed up, huh?
Right?
Yeah, that's good.
I had to shut off the pinging noise. All good things, all good things.
Hey Google, turn off.
Here we go. Seeing lots of familiar faces, which is always always awesome. Love it, love it. There we go. As new people join, I lose my spot. All right, almost there. Okay, I think I have almost everybody on. All right, I think everybody is in. Miss Kristen, if you just want to monitor that. That would be great. Okay. I think we are good. I'm gonna hide Miss Kristen as well. All right. So we will just keep monitoring everybody as they come in. Hopefully everyone is ready to go. I'm super excited. I've known Rob for many years. I actually asked him to come and speak to the Owners of Dog Daycare Conference just 2 years ago to talk to us about company culture. And it was great. I know a lot of people got a lot of value out of it. And the last year or two has been a little rough, I think, for a lot of us, feeling that compassion fatigue. We talk a lot about being burned out, typically not by the dogs, but about our staff and just the business in general and all the things that we have to do. So without further ado, I guess I just wanted to bring Rob on as my expert friend to really talk to us about how do we get over that burnout feeling? How do we relinquish and also help our staff from burnout and those types of things? Because I think it's super important that we have some tools and that we understand what is the difference. Well, let's just start with that. What is the difference between compassion fatigue and burnout? What's the difference?
Yeah, good question. I'll take a second though, and before I answer that and talk about that and say, first of all, thank you for having me. Thank you everyone for the courage to be here because this is a very important topic. And by many accounts, this is something that people sometimes struggle to attend and be affiliated with, when in fact it's a very, very real problem. So thank you, Eve, for bringing this topic up. The courage of people to be here. And just to give some perspective, 15% of the population in the workforce in the United States is either in some kind of counseling for, and that's just regarding the workplace, for workplace stresses, or has exited that recently in the last 12 months. And 15% of the population, that's 28 million people, have done that. So are in some type of counseling for that are struggling with it. That is a very large number. So
way bigger than I would have expected, way bigger.
Yes, it is a very large issue, and it is a plague of sorts, an epidemic of sorts. So, but to be specific around burnout versus compassion fatigue, in many people's eye, a fine line of difference, but burnout tends to be feeling very, very drained from daily stresses. They could be workplace, they could be outside of workplace, brought into the workplace. It can be a subset of both of those. And historically because there is a lack of balance in one's life. And if you look at it from a workplace perspective, it's the workplace overtaking the personal life of the individual. So what manifests itself from that is very low energy that is zapped from you over time, and you become exhausted by that and overwhelmed with a feeling of lack of control, that this is now being done to me and I don't know how to stop it. I'm burned out. I need somebody else to do something. And we'll talk more about that feeling because it's a real feeling, but a feeling we have to wrestle with a little bit. From a compassion fatigue, and I've dealt with this, so it's not only in the world that you're in, It's also compassion fatigue. I just spoke with a local police department about that. They're experiencing the same things. Police officers go into homes of people and feel very bad that they're leaving somebody in a situation they don't feel is safe, but they have no alternative but to leave. And they take that home with them. You have pets that you care for, even if they're not harmed. It's just the constant care of that animal or that person, from if you're a nurse, can be overwhelming when you do it so often, and that is one of the main purposes of your role, of your job, over a period of time. So compassion fatigue is more about the frequent contact that is taking care of people that are preoccupied, and you get preoccupied with their suffering, their needs, and you start to ignore the needs of yourself. And again, you get out of balance. So whether that person or that animal has been traumatized and it hits you even harder, it can come on faster, or it might be just the constant need of that over time. And so we can never forget, and we'll talk more about this, I'm sure, we can't forget to take care of ourselves. So I'll open with the comment of, it's like when you're in the airlines, they tell you put your own mask on first before you help somebody else. We've got to learn to put our own mask on first so that we can help others. Because that's a great thing that we're doing to help other people in all those occupations we just talked about. Combine that, though, if you're a business owner and a manager, you got that many more stresses and strains, right? So let's talk about, but that's really fundamentally kind of the difference between the two.
Fabulous, fabulous. I'm not gonna lie, I felt a little called out there as you're describing. I'm going, yep. Lots of yeses to the points that you were talking about. Good or bad, right? Like,
Yes.
as a business owner, I think, we go through those phases. And that makes it hard.
Well, they're really good traits, right? We want to care about other people. And you have to really encourage them. We said this back in February 2 years ago when we talked to the association about, first of all, congratulations on the courage for being an entrepreneur. That is one of the most well-respected things in this country is entrepreneurs, right? So it's great that you have that courage to do that. You've taken on that responsibility. You've created jobs for other people. You've created good places in improving your community and building that community up, right? With business growth. So congratulations on that. Don't lose sight of that. But we don't want that to consume you. And that's really easy to say and really hard to do, because probably everyone on this call is a real doer and a carer. And we got to just start to put some limits on that for yourselves so that you can do that in a sustainable way and not hit that burnout, not get that fatigue factor to overwhelm you, because you're improving a lot of other people's lives, animals' lives, but you owe yourself something too. It's okay once in a while to give yourself a little grace and to be a little selfish for yourself. So let's not lose sight of that. Some selfishness might be okay. So keep that in mind as we go through this.
So we have permission to say no, is what you're saying.
Exactly. In fact, we have to say no sometimes. No is not a bad thing. No is not, because we can otherwise, we can get very caught in being dedicated and think we're dedicated and get to the point where we get manipulated. We get manipulated by the work, by our customers, not necessarily in a bad way, but customers can be, we love them, we need them. We love a lot of our customers, but some of them can be demanding, right? Some of the people, the pets you have to care for, your employees, there's a lot of pull on you, right? So let's just not make sure that our dedication doesn't get to a point where it becomes manipulation and we're being manipulated. We want to control what happens to us and take the right steps to do it, not let the agenda control us. So we have to remain in control.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I think there are times where I think back, I'm like, gosh, I bent over backwards for that staff person.
Right.
I thought I was hiring for this, and then they changed the dial on me. And I felt like I had to cater to them. Of course, in the moment, I may not have realized it, but that type of piece where then, you do feel like your kindness is being taken advantage of.
Yeah, well, we have to set boundaries and we have to come to agreements. And that's why one of the other things, as you know, I talked about and have done other videos with you, Eve, is a lot about culture. And we have to select people that fit our culture, that believe what we believe, that want to uphold the same values. And that's hard to find. That's real easy for Rob to say tonight, right? But really hard to find. But we also, if we don't hold to those things and we allow those employees to dictate the pace and to just drain us or drain other people they work with, they're probably not helping you in the long run. So be very mindful of people that are fit for your organization culturally, share the same values, and that will add to the environment that everyone comes to work in each day. Because I would imagine for at least a small population of your workforce, coming to work for you, for them, might be the best part of their day. Right.
Yes.
And so let's not sacrifice that on them, because to them, that's their joy. Their joy is to not only serve and care for, but we don't know what their home life is. There's a certain, albeit probably a small percentage, that this is the best part of their day. And let's keep that. And those are the people we need. And those are the people we can grow with. Those are the people we can grow our business with. We can rely on in the future, grow them personally. So let's be mindful of that all the time.
No, and that's great. So we have that core group who shows up and, you know, they're our cheerleaders. They're happy to be with us. So when we get the ones that are manipulating us, that are draining us and sucking the life out of us as entrepreneurs, and managers, are there specific things that you have found that we should be doing to either correct that or to help them see their way to the door?
Well, the first thing we don't want to do is tolerate it, right? Because it's not only is it bothering other people, but it's eating you up inside too. And you can, sometimes we make the excuse that I will deal with it, but I don't have time today. And maybe sometimes that's true.
I'm called out right now.
Yeah,
I'm just so
yeah.
called out right now. I don't have
Exactly.
time today. I'll deal with them tomorrow.
That's right. And sometimes that's true, but most of the time we have to deal with it. And let's not make it a bigger thing than it needs to be, but we can have 30, 45 second, 60-second coaching sessions. And one of the things you have to do is remind them of why they came to work here. Ask them why they came to work here. Well, I like animals. I want to do this. Great. How do we do that better? How do we do that together? Because then we're here for the same reasons. So what about it is challenging you, and what about it is maybe making you unhappy to react the way you are? Because the way you are is not helping me care for the animals. It's not helping with my customers, the other workers, and it doesn't sound like you're happy. So how do we get to a happy place for all of us? Because we're here for the same reasons. Let's have this dialogue. I want you to think about it. Let's have this dialogue when you come back and work next Wednesday or Saturday. I'd like to spend a couple minutes and sit down and talk with you about that. Let's take coachable moments. We've talked about this before, you and I, Eve, at length, about moments of truth. There are moments of truth in the business when they arise, and you got to decide if we're going to deal with them or not. It doesn't mean you have to take 25 minutes and sit down, because you are incredibly busy people. Whether you're managing the facility or whether you're owning the facility, you have so many polls on you every day. So many things. Whatever you're doing, you're probably thinking 2 things ahead of that you have to react to it. That alone is stressful enough, right? Not to mention, you got to think, how's the month going to come out? Am I going to make money? Am I going to be profitable? Where's my business coming from? Not to mention just operate the business day to day. So there's a lot going on. Take it in small, digestible bites, but don't let that behavior fester. Address it, even if it's in small coaching sessions. So, but I'd also like to talk a little bit more, because we talked right in the very beginning about the burnout, the compassion fatigue, but also like you to call out, if you don't mind, a little bit of the symptoms of those, because I think it's important that we have those in our mind so that we can do a check on ourselves to make sure we're okay, and or our employees are okay if there's somebody in particular we're concerned about. So many of the symptoms between burnout, compassion fatigue are similar. Going with burnout first, be mindful if that person's communicating, or you yourself are starting to have difficulty sleeping, if it's difficult to just be in the moment every day, which we all need to get probably better at, if you're certainly losing appetite, or in some cases, extreme cases, even neglecting hygiene, or you notice somebody's neglecting hygiene, they just feel that hopeless sense, and things just feel futile, useless. That's a sign that somebody is really, really burned out. So any one of those are an indicator. If you're seeing 2 or 3 of those, I would encourage you to try and intervene of that. And if it's for yourself, partner with somebody, and we can talk more about this as we go on. The symptoms from a compassion fatigue, not all that dissimilar, but that's more of a sense of, I'm losing purpose. My professional accomplishment doesn't seem like it's really resonating with me. I don't get that sense of fulfillment anymore out of it. I'm emotionally exhausted, and I'm not really improving my situation. And in most cases, it's not true. You are doing great things. It's you're doing them sometimes at such a volume or such a pace. You're not taking time to process the good you're doing. You're just seeing how much is still left for you to do. It's like the old checklist that you have. Sometimes it helps when you see some of those checks go by, when you got 12 or 13 things to do and you see 4 or 5 checks, you start feeling better about yourself, even though you still got a lot to do and you still got items on the checklist. Make sure that you, in your mind, are checking off some of the boxes saying, I'm doing still really good things. Especially for you people that are managers and owners, because you're helping so many people. But make sure, again, that you're doing that same process for yourself. And if you're struggling with that, partner it with somebody else who may be even doing that, and make sure you're checking in with each other and reminding all the good things, all the right things, all the good things that you're doing for other people, and make sure you're doing some of them for yourself.
You know, I love that, because every time I walk in the door, I'm like, oh, what's the shit show gonna give me today? Is the first thought. Then the second thought is, what is my win going to be today? Like, what is the one thing I am absolutely going to accomplish and it's going to be my win? So I already tell myself as I'm walking in the door, what's my win?
Yep.
So that way my mindset is there. My mindset is, it's a winning day. I get rid of that negative talk that I just thought about a second ago, probably due to some other thing, right? Somebody cut me off on my way into work or something else, right? So I walk in the door with that win already in my head. This is what I'm going to win at today. This is what I'm going to knock out of the park. And sometimes it is helping somebody else win.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not your own win, right? But yet it is your win too, right? So I think that's a great mindset, because at the end of the day, that's what this is really about. It's getting to the right mindset every day, because all too often we're thinking about what hasn't gotten done yet, how many other people we got to help, all the other things that are going on in our lives. And I would encourage everyone to take a few minutes each day. I like to say, and I've said this before, and even you and I've had this dialogue before, if you don't have something that you get to do 3 or 4 times a week, whether it's go work out or you go golfing or you hike, if for some reason you can't fit that in, and you got to work towards fitting those things in, at the very least, take 20 minutes a day for yourself and do something you like and enjoy. And if you're so far off the path that you don't even know what that is today, then take 20 minutes a day to figure out what it is by closing your eyes, get rid of all the devices, and just be a little mindful for a while and think about what would bring you joy. And sometimes it takes reflecting back on our lives. Sometimes pictures, actually looking through an old photo album, helps that. Oh, I remember I used to do this, or I used to golf more, I used to work out more, I used to do this, I used to read more. Whatever the case may be, you'll find some joy in those old pictures, and it might encourage you to go back and build relationships back with people you didn't know, and bring back joy into your life, so that the things that once stimulated you and you got so much joy out of accomplishing that are now seeming to be almost burdensome, you can put that joy back in, because happiness is a serious problem sometimes. It really is. And you have a right to be happy. You have a right to be happy. And when you're happy, the people you care about around you are also happier. So all you can do is, again, put the mask on sometimes yourself before you help somebody else.
All right. So everybody on this call, Rob just gave you permission to all be happy. We've got that now. We're going to write it on a sticky note. It says, Rob says I get to be happy.
And nobody gets to rob you of that. They don't get to take it away from you.
That is
They can't
awesome.
hold you up and take that away. No, 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 no.
If we take nothing else from this call, that by far is definitely it. It is given permission to be happy, 100%.
So if we can, I know you probably have a few other questions, and I don't want to
No,
pivot us
go
too
ahead.
far away, but I'd also like to talk about a few things, since we're talking about that right to be happy, is what are some things we can do to prevent getting to the state of burnout and to feeling that fatigue factor, right? Because
Yeah.
if we know how to prevent it, we better manage it, right? And we don't want to get there. But if we feel ourselves starting to fall off that cliff, right? What do we do to stop that before we actually take that tumble? So better we stumble around the ditch for a little while, we can find a way out of that than fall off the cliff, right?
Amen.
So in both these cases, for people who are so inclined, physical activity of some kind does help. It releases the tension. So whether that's your lifting weights, whether that's, it doesn't have to be heavy, but exercising and walking and things like that are fine. Preferably outdoors if you're walking, as opposed to a treadmill. Either one is good. Nature tends, greenery, things of that tend to bring us down a little bit and let us to chill out and appreciate things and give us a broader picture. So that tends to be a little healthier, if you will, but both are good. I'm not a particularly healthy eater. I have to really work at that. So I would encourage, because nutrition, while it doesn't feel as satisfying in the moment, over time, it's much better for you. So trying and be a little bit healthier, or make sure that you're maintaining your health. If you're normally a healthy eater, don't let that disintegrate on you during times of high stress or things of that nature. Try and maintain that healthy, nutritious. And please, 32% of America does not get enough sleep. Not even close. So get sleep. Yeah, I know you don't. I know that. I was going to call you out if you didn't call yourself out on that one. So that's it. Yeah, but that's been as long as I've known you too. So you got to really work on that, Eve. So that's been at least, I don't know, 15 years. So you got to work on that. But yeah, get sleep. So think about balance to your life. That doesn't mean every day has to be perfectly balanced, because that's probably unrealistic, right? There's going to be days that you prone probably a 13, 14-hour day, 15-hour day. That's what the business takes, and you got to do it. But not too far afterwards, you got to kind of cut out for a while, give yourself a long lunch, go in a little later, leave a little earlier, find that quiet time for yourself. So seek that balance in terms of your health, your personal relationships in life, and work itself. Seek that balance, okay? Never let it get too far skewed. And seek support of people and help others do it too. You'll get a great deal of joy by helping other people do that too. So when you feel like you've got control of that, share that with somebody, please. That would be very good. And try really hard for entrepreneurs. Try to leave work at work to the extent that you can. Or when you're at home, don't keep going back and forth to it. Carve out time, do it, but carve out time for yourself. Whether you're doing Netflix, taking the walk, doing the workout, cooking, whatever you want to do, make sure you can divorce yourself from that for a period of time. The other
And
thing,
I have to jump in here, Rob, because that is something that I think a lot of us, managers, entrepreneurs, what have you, we feel like we have to be attached to our phone. We have to answer every Facebook message, every email, every reservation the minute it comes in. And I'm going to give myself a little pat on the back. I hired a virtual assistant. So that person now monitors during the off time. And even for that person, every 4 hours.
Mhm.
If you send an email to the manager of Target at 9 p.m., you do not and would never expect them to return that email by midnight.
Right.
You're going to make the assumption it's next day.
Mhm.
Clients are the same way.
Yep.
So I've drank that Kool-Aid, and I have put that in motion to make sure that there are boundaries. When
That's the right
when
word,
it's closed, it's closed. We will respond.
right?
They get an automated response. We'll respond to you within the next 4 hours. You know, obviously there's a little tidbit, you know, please use our online portal. But yeah, like you have to create the boundary.
No one gets a right to dictate all your boundaries and what your workload should be and how much that is on any given day. Customers have a right to inquire, have high expectations of service levels, all kinds of things like that, right? You have to compete and be good at those things to win your business. That everybody here knows, right? And I've been an entrepreneur myself. But you use the word boundaries and emotional boundaries. I'll go one step further. You need to know what the emotional boundaries are for yourself. You need to know that there's workload limits, and you need to be able to talk about it. You need to partner. Don't do this all internally yourself. Talk about it. Find somebody else on this call that you want to partner with who shares a lot of your same business challenges, right? And pulls and pushes, if you will. Partner with them. Partner with a friend outside of work, but find a partner. It's easier to do these things. The reason people think change is so hard is because they put it all on themselves to change. It's easier if we change with somebody else and we do that partnership, right? We have that support group. Doesn't mean we have to join a group and we have to sit in a round table, round chairs and all talk about everything, but find a support group of one helps a great deal. So think about that, and reflect often on what good things have happened, what good you have done, and the good impact you're doing for so many others that you probably forget about because you think about all the things again that you have to still do. So
Right.
little grace for yourself. Give yourself a little grace.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's hard. We want to be everything to everybody and we don't want anything to slip through. So I've had to work through that.
Yeah, so I guess to some extent what I'm advocating for is that you don't want to wait for improvement, happiness. Things will get better if this happens. I'll be happier if this happens. They don't just tend to happen. Maybe for the few it does. You have to cultivate it. You have to shape it. You have to plan for it. You have to organize it. Cultivate happiness, and then you're going to have to still nurture it afterwards. Then it becomes something you can sustain. You own it. It'll be who you are. I have a very close friend of mine in Utah, and unless it's something a really big deal, her saying is, it's just stuff. And stuff happens every day. And she has learned to really control this very, very, very well in her life. Her stresses and she's been doing this. She's well in her 50s now. She's been doing it since 30, and she adopted this kind of mentality. And she says, I've been so happy. So I used to be stressed out. She was a head of finance for Fidelity, had a big corporate job. And she just realized that that job wasn't my whole life, right? So again, you have a right to be happy, and don't let something, someone, some process, some job, some career take that away. That entrepreneurship of you starting these businesses and managing these businesses and leading other people should, not every day, not every moment of every day, but should be bringing you happiness and reward because you're growing people, you're contributing to the community, you're providing for pets, you're helping your customers. It should be bringing you a lot more happiness than it is angst, or something is really, we got to take a step back and look. So do a little inventory on yourself, and happy people that are really fulfilled in their lives, they have found the secret, so to speak, and they do something on a very consistent basis that other people don't. And one of those things is they give themselves grace. And the other thing is they carve out time for themselves to just exist so they can re-energize. And these things don't get you, because the challenges that you face every day, the emotional drains, the needs of the business can overcome you more when you are tired and exhausted and you haven't replenished yourself. You're more vulnerable. Get that rest, get that nutrition, even if it's just incrementally, a little more rest, a little better nutrition, a little more exercise, it'll do a world of good for you, I'm confident.
So instead of the donut with sprinkles, get the bagel with avocado on it, maybe.
Sometimes, not always, but sometimes, yes. Let's do that.
I love it. I love it. You know, and it's one of those things too. I think sometimes we are angry and frustrated
Mhm.
at what we're doing or you know what's going on, and we don't see it as burnout.
Right, right.
We think we're just angry and frustrated. And then we get mad at ourselves for being angry and frustrated. So now that we can recognize what it is and some steps that we can take to readjust, I
Yeah.
think it's in the right direction.
Don't be a prisoner of your own thoughts. Don't let your own mind lock you up that this is wrong in my life. This is so much of a challenge. I can't do this. If somebody else would just do this again, I would be happy. Don't allow that. Make sure that you tell yourself some affirmation every day, because the start of this is having a healthy self-image. We tend to be very critical of ourselves, right? There's too much focus on what we didn't get done, what our weaknesses, what our developments are. Focus, really want you to get this. Focus on your own unique purpose. You are different than everybody else. You have a lot of similarities to everybody else, but you have something that's unique, a gift that you can give to everybody else that nobody else has. We all have it. Find that purpose, find that unique gift, share it, and it will give you much joy. So, might take some soul searching to do that. And it's funny because most people, your close friends, can tell you what that is easier than you can identify it yourself. So if you need help, ask them, because it is. I've been there myself at a time where I questioned what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. Am I spending my time in the right place? Am I paying attention to friends? Am I bettering anybody else besides just myself? Because I got caught with all these competencies. You know, we talk a lot about that in human resources. You got to develop all these competencies. Yeah, but somewhere along the line, those competencies have to be bringing you joy and happiness and fulfillment, or they're just competencies. So we again, balance is a big word here tonight, that we've got to keep that balance in check and make sure that you have that healthy self-image. Too much focus on weakness, focus on your purpose, focus on what makes you unique. That is such a gift that you've been given that you can share with other people. And I hope that brings you joy when you do that, because that's probably why your friends are your friends. They see it in you if you don't see it in yourself every day. So ask them, they'll tell you.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. So other than gratitude, sleep, put our mask on first, start our day off.
Right.
What are some other practical things that we should be doing and looking for?
Well, let's look at it from a standpoint of, let's dispel one or two other rumors here too, while we're at it, if we will. So really what we're talking about to some extent is developing some new habits, and maybe even dissolving some other ones. Let's get out of the notion that most people hear and say it takes 21 days to build a new habit. And so on the 22nd day, miracle is going to happen, right? The miracle is unlikely to happen on day 22. So just so you know. So what people do that manage these things that we've been discussing, well, I have found in the last 30 or so years being in employee relations and wellness programs and things of that nature, is they have a plan. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's written down, although typically it started out that way. We have to plan to do something different than what we have. Otherwise, we're going to get the same result, as we've all heard before. Yep. So think about the 2 or 3 things, because you don't want to cure everything tomorrow, right? You're not going to be able to fix everything. What are maybe the 2 things in your world, if you could improve them incrementally, if you could improve them a little bit, would make you feel better about where you're at today, be it your personal life, be it your work life, or just to bring you more joy again? And so think about what those are and make that plan, because it's not the Post-it note on the refrigerator, nothing wrong with that. It's not just, okay, I'm going to do this for 21 days. And oh, by the way, on day 14, I missed. And what does that mean? Does that mean I'm done and I got to start over? Does that mean I just got to go to 22 days? I don't know what that means. Focus on the process and the plan of getting done what you want to get done and managing what you want to manage. So start it off with a goal, whether it's, I want more joy in my life, I want more time away from work, whatever that is. And let's work backwards from there and say, how do we get there? What is the disruption that's happened to not allow us to do that? And because that may happen on occasion, that we say, let's just take that, I want to work a little bit less. Some weeks that's still going to happen. You're not going to be successful 52 weeks out of the year, maybe doing that.
Right.
But if you can increase that in most weeks, that's a good goal. And then let's reward the process for getting there, and let's apply that to the next thing. So if we make incremental gains in several areas of our lives, in our personal relationships, our work, right? And maybe whether it's your faith or whatever else journey you might be on, you might step back and say, okay, this is really good. I've made good progress. I feel better. Now I can even go one step further. The other thing is where can you enlist help? And that help isn't just somebody like we talked about before, which is great to have a support system and somebody who can you could coach each other and keep each other on track. But that support system is something that probably already exists today. So let's just say, let's take the entrepreneur or the manager that might be on this webinar today. It's also about having expectations that are fair of other people. At some point, we have to build that person in our organization that we can trust, that Eve can walk away from her business for a period of time, because Eve needs that. And you know what? Actually, Eve's employees probably need it too. No offense, right? They need time away from the boss too. Right?
All of the above.
Yeah. So, but you're owed that, but you have to put plans in place, because these things just don't fall out of the sky and happen for you. So I think you'll find they're more obtainable than you might have otherwise thought. Sometimes not, sometimes yes, but it doesn't mean we stop working on them. So find those people in your organization, bring those people in. I know they're hard to come by, but nurture that kind of culture in your organization so that you don't have to be there every minute of the day, all the time. And those people, there's probably somebody in that organization, at least one or two, if you've got 20 employees maybe, that probably wants more responsibility than they're even saying, and that you may recognize. Find those people. Can you get a little bit more out of a few people that takes a little bit off your load, right? So get small wins, get momentum going, start believing in it, because until you believe in it, you're really probably not going to make it happen. You have to believe that you're going to get there in that journey. And when you get some of the small wins, it does help with that a great deal. So, but if we do nothing else, before we would depart today, yes, give yourself grace. You have a right to be happy, that you reiterated before, but also get a plan and get that plan started. I would love for everyone on here, they won't all do it, but if everyone here said, I'm going to take that 20 minutes right after that and say, where do I want to leverage what I just talked about, heard today? Where in my life am I going to leverage that? And can I jot down 2 or 3 things to get my plan started? And I'm going to have a plan by this date, firm plan that I can execute. If you just do that after this webinar today, it's a huge win for you. And I think it'll carry a lot of momentum. Don't just think, I think I got this, now I'll go do it and it'll be better. It doesn't work that way. Got to do a little self-diagnostics, right? Bring up some feelings, be honest with yourself. Some people look at themselves in the mirror to do this thing. What's really going to bring me joy? Because you have a right for that. You have a right for that happiness. Don't let that be robbed by you. And certainly don't take it from yourself.
No, very valid, very valid. And it is tough. I think as entrepreneurs, we are some of probably the loneliest people because we don't go talk to each other.
Right. Yeah. Respected, but sometimes that's not enough, right? It is a lonely place. And so just don't, in one sense, it's that passion that got you where you're at, and you're so successful, everybody on here. But let's not only be professionally successful, let's be personally successful. So don't let it consume you each week. There has to be time for you. There has to be time for people you care about, and that people care about you who want to be with you. Not only do you want to give them, they want some of your time, whether it's a son or a daughter or a brother or a sister or a parent. You have to make time. That, again, those are the things that will. But we got to manage them. We got to manage them. We got to manage those expectations.
Certainly. So if I'm a manager and a boss sitting down having this conversation, how should we start the conversation? Give me some bullet points of what boss and manager should sit down and powwow about.
Yeah, I think we're there's a couple places you could start, but I would first start with asking how they're feeling about things in their day-to-day life. Do they feel they have a sense of balance? And if not, from their perspective, what's out of balance? And let's try and keep that to 2 or 3 items. It doesn't mean they can't tell you 5 or 6 things, but what are the 2 or 3 that really are impacting your life in a way that you don't want to have happen? And then let's talk about how do we help each other through that process. And maybe that's sharing the solution, but more importantly, it's probably sharing a commitment to the solution, that we're going to work through this together, because we're all solutioneers, especially you entrepreneurs. I'm going to point the finger at all you. So for all the greatness you do, and this country owes you a debt, because entrepreneurs are the lifeline of this economy. Everybody knows that, right? You guys took the risk. You built these great businesses, but it's the commitment to the process to helping to get there. We're all solutioneers, right? We want to get to the solution right away when we haven't defined the problem. You don't go to a doctor and he tells you, or she tells you that, well, this is probably likely a problem. Now let's do the diagnosis, right? They examine you first, right? So we need to do some self-examination, and it'd be really helpful if you can partner with that person and say, we're in it together. I'm going to tell you what I see that seems to stress you or take your joy or steal your happiness. What do you think does? And can we do that for me too?
Oh, I love this. I love this, because that's a hard piece too. It's, I don't want to come to my manager and be like, hey, listen, I think this sucks and that sucks, right? Like, you don't want to be that downer. So for me to say, hey, this is where I see you being stressed, where do you see it? It's softer. It lands nicer.
It says you care, right? It
Absolutely.
says you care. And if you care, that's when you really get the highest level engagement from your employee, when they think you care about them and you give purpose simultaneously to their work, and that their work matters. It matters that they show up every day. That's when you can get engagement. Now the business side of me comes out. When you get the engagement, you get their discretionary effort. You get better work quality, right? You become more competitive, and you have a more sustainable business model. But it is like everything. It's a process to get there. It's a process to get there. But take someone along the journey. Don't try and solve everybody's problems in the workforce right away. If you feel there's 5 or 6, 1 or 2, you guys get together. As you feel you get momentum, bring somebody else into the club.
Nice.
Bring 1 or 2 more into the club, right? Over time. Don't try and solve the world's problems, right? World hunger, all the other things, all the educational challenges. We can't solve it all in one fell swoop, right? But we can make progress every day, and chart your progress. And you talked about going to work. What's my win today, right?
Yes.
Let's drive to work, but let's also drive home with work, saying, look what I did do. I got a few things to work on I didn't get to, but I did this, and this today. I'm running a really great business. A little positive affirmation for ourselves. And maybe twice a week, safely, maybe when you get in the car, not when you're driving, dial up phone, and you call somebody else and you thank that employee, or you call one of your peers on this webinar today, say, how did your day go? What was your win today? I'd really challenge you to do that.
That's
You know
awesome.
each other on these webinars. Call each other. Share your wins. be vulnerable and say, I didn't have a win today. Today sucked, right? It was a really lousy day. Great. You got somebody to tell it to, but now it's over. You close the box, put it there, you go home, right? To your wonderful families or to your freedom of doing whatever you want to do. If you're maybe living alone, you get to do whatever you want to do. You get to order pizza that night, whatever it is you want to do, and you do it, right? So compartmentalize those things, put them aside. Don't let them rob you of your joy. Don't let anybody rob you of your happiness. We have to leave with that idea in our heads today. Okay, we
No,
have
I
to
love
leave
that.
with that.
I love that. Yeah. I like to practice the pause before I come in my house. So I sit in
Yep.
my car and I hang out
Yep.
for a good 5-10 minutes and just kind of process the day before I walk in. Sometimes I just watch stupid animal TikToks.
Yeah, exactly. So think about this. It's an equation, right? It's taking the event that happened. Let's something bad happen, right? It's taking the event and saying, but it's your response that ultimately is going to dictate the outcome. Yes, it might be a bad thing that has a bad outcome and is problematic. Let's be realists, right? Let's be realists. Those bad things happen, right? Bad things happen to good people. But it's our reaction to it that makes it that we can deal with it successfully. We can solve it and not let it own us and tear us up inside. It's our reaction to that. So it's an equation that says event, your response, and then what's that outcome? And that outcome is better, not a cure, but it's better when you have an appropriate response to it. So remember, it's just stuff. Yes, it's dollars, and yes, it's customers and things, but you're going to deal with it again in a few days, another similar problem, and you're going to survive, and you've dealt with it for years and you survived. So shelf it, compartmentalize it, and get back to happiness.
Fabulous. Fabulous. We're going to go ahead and allow you guys to ask some questions in the chat. You'll find that on the bottom corner of your screen. So feel free to put stuff in. I wanted to go through some actionable takeaways. So we start our day out with a positive affirmation. Then I want to have the conversation with my manager or with my employee of, I see this stressing you. How are you feeling? So that way we can get some dialogue to stop them from having burnout. Hopefully it makes me feel empowered within my company to have that conversation. And other actionable items are take 20 minutes for myself. I think almost everybody on here has a dog that we could take for a walk outside, or go in the backyard and play fetch, or, you know, when you close down the shop, just play with your dog for 20 minutes before you lock up and walk out the door. It's another idea too. So I like that. When somebody comes to us and says, I'm burnt out, this is the piece I struggle with specifically. They come to me and say, I'm burnt out. And I go, you work 25 hours a week. How are you possibly burned out?
We don't want that. We don't want to say that. We don't want to think that.
I don't want to say that, but that's what's going in my head.
Yeah,
So
that's real. That's real. So first of all, a couple things too. I'm going to go back to one other thing you said. So we say what's stressing you out too, but let's also make sure that in that conversation that we tell them, I do want you to know this is how you're adding value here. And this is something I've seen that you do really well. And and thank you for doing X, Y, and Z. So now back to your real question for me was, so you're only working 20 hours a week. I'm here 55 hours a week. How could you be stressed out? Remember what we said earlier. This may be their safe haven though, too.
Sure.
We don't know necessarily what their life is outside of here, right? So we don't know that they're struggling financially, maybe more than we realize, more than they let us know. We don't know that they're not in an abusive relationship. We don't know a lot of things, and that the stress really comes out here because that's the only place it can come out. So that's why I say, what is stressing you, in getting to that, not just I am stressed, really only does us so much good. Helps, but if we could get to why, because if you find that it's work, but it seems that it's kind of surfacey, the odds are they're saying it's work and it's something else. And that might be something that we might want to get them a third party connected to counsel, or to just be there and say, hey, if you ever want to talk about anything outside of work too, I'm here for you. So,
Yeah, and that
question.
that does seem to mean quite a bit to staff.
Mhm.
All right, we have a question. What do you do if you ask an employee what can be done to manage their stress, but what they are asking isn't practical, meaning they don't want to work that hard?
Mhm.
Such as go to therapy or break up with a boyfriend, or I'm just throwing things out there to add on to that question.
Yeah, I think that what if they don't want to quote work that hard, or they say they don't feel, or you don't feel they're committed to it, it's saying, what can we do today to get, remember the word I use, incremental, you could use a different word. What can we do to get a small win today towards that? A big step. Because I'm sensing that this is a little challenging for you and it seems a little overwhelming and you're not even sure if it's going to work. But if we can do one or two things, what do you think might help just a little bit? And somebody might then say, well, a little bit isn't going to do me any good because I'm really stressed about this. Yeah, but sometimes we have to play all 9 innings of the game, right? We don't get to just start in the 9th inning and then say, let's just score more runs than the other team, right? We have to start and play the process out. So let's start with a small win. What would make you happier today? What would bring you some joy today? And that would allow you to feel comfortable telling me that we could do X, Y, and Z today or in the next 24, 48 hours to alleviate some of that. I can't cure the world for you today, but I can help you on your journey. And in most cases, it is a journey. It doesn't have to be months and months, but let's get started. Let's get a couple small wins going. And I want you to know I'm in it with you. If you're really in it, you got a partner. I'll be there with you. And what you can do then is share some of the things that you've had and put in perspective for them that they may not have. That this was really hard for me to work on work-life balance. And I found that I did X, Y, and Z, and it took me months to get there because the perception on many people, especially if they're less experienced, is I want to solve it now. I want to snap my finger and solve it in the next couple of days, 3 days. That's my attention span. I want it. It's a process. It's a process. And the good news is, if you use that process on there, you can be able to take that, replicate that to other challenges you'll feel in life, and you'll become a real problem solver of your own. And hopefully you'll share that talent and that skill as you build that with others. It's a great question.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that is true. When, or sometimes people will list off 3 or 4 things that are stressing them out, and they're things that are just above and beyond work.
The question itself is actually the answer. So whoever put in the question, it's just a great question, because the reason we're not great at problem solving is because we go to the solving part, like we said earlier, right away, because we want it fixed. We want it fixed. And we don't understand that there's a process and a step we have to go to get it fixed. And if we go to too quick a solution, the odds are we're not going to be able to sustain that wellness effort and things of that nature. So we've got to respect the process and take some necessary steps. Because remember what we said too, we want to develop habits. We want to develop healthy habits. And that's a process. It starts with being, what do I want my outcome to be? What am I willing to do? What am I willing to stop doing? Right? And it's hard to stop doing because a lot of the things that we're doing for ourselves are giving us some benefit, although it's not good for our long term. It's giving us immediate feel good. And the things we stop doing are the things we want to do because they make us feel good, but they're not healthy for us. But sometimes they make us feel good in the moment. So it's a real tug of war there. So understand that process. And if you can partner with them in the journey, I think you'll be very successful. And I think you'll win a lot of relationships.
Do you think there is something that we can do, as a staff meeting, or do you feel like this should be best as a one-on-one conversation?
I think you do both. I think you make sure that they know that your door's open to that. But yes, most of these should be one-on-one because there's confidentiality issues. There's I could be hurt if somebody else found out about it. So I'd caution you, that's the HR person of me coming out a little bit, the legal person of me coming out. But I would take time in your all staff meetings to say, look, I care about you. This is a serious problem. It may not be a problem you have, but statistically somebody probably here does, and know that I've coached people in the past. My door's open and it's confidential if you ever want to chat. And maybe I'm not the right person, but maybe I can steer you or something. We all have challenges at somewhere in our lives and at some point in our lives. That's the reality, right? Look at the divorce rate, over 50%, right? Look at,
Yeah.
when you start taking that, and I just shared another stat, 28 million workers have sought some kind of employee counseling session from their employer, right? They either have, or they're in it, or they just out of it, right? So if you take all those numbers, somebody's got a challenge somewhere in their life. Nobody has the perfect life. We think they do, they put on the face, but they don't. We all have the challenges. Sometimes they ebbs and flows, but they're there. So I don't know if there was another question that came across or not.
Yeah, no, so, ooh, this is another very good one, by the way. So any guidance on recognizing if the stress or frustration an employee is going through is a heat of the moment or temporary overwhelming moment, and if the approach to alleviate that should be adjusted?
Yes, it is a very insightful question. The difference for me in most cases is if it's really out of character for the person, then it's probably an emotional response to something that just happened, that hasn't been an ongoing problem. In most cases, sometimes it could be the build of somebody who's in denial and this is happening, but more times than not, it's something recent. And that's why it's really, the reaction is really out of character. That is a really insightful question. Gosh, really
Like
insightful
that.
question. Yeah.
Is there
And
some,
that might be something then too, that you might have to, you may not be able to help that person as well, because that, it either might be something you can, if you can't de-escalate it fairly quickly, that's somebody you're going to want to refer.
gotcha. Is it ever a good thing to tell somebody to go take 20 minutes?
I don't have any problem with that at all.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say go take it. I would say, I really feel like I want you to be able to have 20 minutes. How we say it, right? It's not so much what we say, but how we say it. So think about that. Hear yourself say it before you say it, right? If you're unsure of something, right? It's kind of like the email. Read back your email when you're kind of ticked off at someone and you're firing back. Read that in before you send it, right? You don't know what they're going to do with the email. You don't know how they're going to interpret the email. And are you really that angry, or are you more just frustrated because you got so many other things clouding yourself out? We have to give ourselves clarity of thought, right? Time to breathe. And we'll be much more successful, much happier, much better, more well-adjusted, able to handle the future stresses much better.
Absolutely. So if I'm going to chat with my staff individually, I'll pull my people rowing the boat in the right direction first,
Yep.
have this little conversation, and then you said bring people in a little bit at a time.
Mhm.
Is a good idea to do that. Is there ever, you bring one of them in, let's say it's 4 or 5 people deep now,
Sure.
and their issues all seem to be issues relating to other staff members, and you're not going to fire the whole company.
Right.
Is that trying to figure out, like, at what point do I stop giving that person all of me?
Well, first we have to figure out if what they're saying is accurate to some extent, right? Because there
Sure.
could be a group that is, maybe they're not saying really everybody, or maybe it's a small group that they're just not clicking with, right? And that may be very intentional by that group to that person, or it may be that person's perception. So I think we have to get really specific in terms of what are the behaviors, not that I don't like the way you treat me, I don't like this. We have to get a little bit more, we have to drill down one more layer down and say, what is that? And then be able to navigate that with the other people that they might be pointing a finger at and saying, okay, how do you feel about so-and-so? Because the bottom line is, this is the work climate, this is the work culture I want to have here. And then we don't start pointing fingers so much at everyone. We get everyone a chance to glob on, to get attracted to that culture and to those behaviors that we want to see in the organization, as opposed to Eve wants Rob to change. It may come to that, but let's try to get them to, here's what our common behaviors are that we should see in the organization. Remember why we're here and what we're serving to do. And let's let them run towards that. Because at the end of the day, we're social creatures and we want to belong. Nobody
Yeah.
wants to really be an outcast. Even though they might tell you that they don't care what anybody thinks, they care. They absolutely care.
100%.
Everybody.
100%. All right, your next question. How would you navigate being in a leadership position and also being compassionate, caring with the employees, but also having them respect you in the workplace? Basically differentiating a work-life relationship balance.
Yeah, well, remember, you're dedicated to the people that you're serving because you're in a leadership role, right? But what we said early on, you're not allowing to manipulate you either. They have to come with you in the journey of correcting things or sharing things. It isn't just you do for them, right? You serve them, you create a good workplace for them to be, you help them grow as an individual, but they have to take step forwards too. Maybe they don't have to take as many steps, but you want them walking towards you as well. You don't want to chase them to help them, right? So you're a leader when you need to be a leader, and the business dictates it, and the business comes because the business has to be there. Without the business, you can't help them. So you have to take care of your business. By the same token, you have to carve out time for that compassionate, nurturing relationship. And maybe it's just a couple minutes a day. Every once in a while, it's a greater time spent with them. It's the regularity of it. It's the consistency of it. But you're still running a business. And you need to help them understand that the world can't stop every time somebody's feeling. We want to be compassionate. Somebody is feeling overwhelmed or feeling inadequate or feeling like they're not belonging in. We can't stop the whole world because the world isn't going to stop for them every time. So we have to learn how to let them grow into this and take some solace in the individual basic steps in the process and feel better. That we can't cure situations, as we said before, overnight. So you want to be compassionate, but you also want to understand that it is still a business. You are not there for their full-time counselor. You're part counselor, part coach, influencer. You're a lot of things to them. You're a teacher, but it isn't one of them all the time. It's just not. Just like your work-life balance, that relationship has to have a balance. You need to build what I call relationship equity with people so that they trust in you and trust that you have their best interest in mind, but don't allow that to be abused. Don't. And if you're thinking it kind of is, it probably is, because you're probably all very kind. Just by nature of the work you're doing, you're all kind, compassionate people. So if your sensors are going off, I'd trust them. I trust them.
Interesting. Relationship equity.
Yep. When you get relationship where people trust you, when they trust you, they'll do great things for you. And when something goes wrong, they'll say, oh, Eve would never have done that to me. It must have been something out of her control. They'll just give you grace automatically when you get to that relationship equity, to that trust. And if anybody needs help one-on-one or something like that, I'm sure you can provide my contact, stuff like that. I'm more than happy to talk to people. I've done it with some of the people before. I don't know if some of those are on here now or not today, but had some great conversations. So yeah, keep the questions coming though. I'll take as much time as you want tonight. So if there's more questions, fire away.
Yeah, I think that question specifically comes up a lot in our industry because there's typically 4 to 8 of us always working together. We're a morning shift crew or we're an evening shift crew, so we truly do become friends. Yep. And in a leadership role, there are those fine lines. Like, I'll throw myself out there. We chat about my online dating with my staff. Like, we get to know each other rather personally.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely.
And have a good time. And then there's the other side where I have to say, hey, listen, you've been late, 5 out of 7 days this week. What's going on?
Right.
And that, there's that boundary and that muddiness there.
Right. But that's why
that makes
too,
it difficult.
so and to the last person's question is be proactive though in this. So don't let people just come up to you and throw up their problems on you, right? Be proactive so they have an opportunity, and then you're building that relationship equity by having a check-in with them. And it doesn't mean you have to sit down in the office and do it. Just going, hey, how's things going? How's life treating you? Things outside, how's school going? Things of that. And ask to say, hey, if you ever need to talk through, because I remember when I was in school, it was pretty stressful, right? And open the door and wave them in. It's up to them whether they come in or not. But don't be afraid to open the door and wave them in, and make sure you're doing that with some regularity. And then too, you tend to get water dripping as opposed to just, a tidal wave at you at once of all kinds of issues and problems, right? And and you'll build that relationship equity, and you'll be a trusted advisor to these people. Not only a trusted advisor and trusted by your customers, but you'll be a trusted by your staff, which again, I think when you have that relationship equity, it'll permeate to the relationships they have with the customers. I just sent Eve a note last night or the night before. I couldn't remember the person's name. She's amazing every time I'm there because I board my dogs with Eve. And
Miss Marissa.
yeah, okay, there you go. And she is, in fact, I told her, I said, you are amazing every time. And she was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you just told me that. And it's like, she was so excited about it. And she's just amazing every time. And one of the things, and I said, why are you able to do that every day? You know, because not everyone does, right? I love what I do. I get to do this and I get to do this. Her perspective was so healthy, is that somebody's allowing her to do this and care for these animals. And, you know, she gets to interact, and Eve's her boss and this and that. And she's just so excited. And man, does it come through as the customer. And I was just on the phone with her. I was even in person. So just amazing what you can do. And you people are doing amazing work. Do not stop telling yourself all the great things you do. Sort things out, write things down, develop a plan, give yourself some grace, give yourself 20 minutes a day to kind of just breathe, shut off the devices, things of that nature, right? And allow yourself happiness. Recognize all the good that you are. Recognize your uniqueness. And I don't mean that to be so philosophical. It's just you owe it to yourself, and you owe it to everybody who cares about you.
Absolutely, absolutely. John says he checks in with staff members for understanding work-life balance and if there's anything they're unsure about or need training or help with. And sometimes you get the I'm good, and then they quit because they find the work to be too much and inevitably don't want to work and just be lazy. How do you actually reach people? He's been in different leadership roles and different careers, and it just is perplexing that why, when we ask the question, we're not getting truthful answers.
Yep. So you're not getting, I don't know that you're not getting complete truth. That's partially true. You're getting the answer they want to give you, and there's a difference. So, but one of the things that I just had this conversation with an organization the other day is, and this high-level executive, it's a $50-60 million company. So he runs a sizable enough business, and he has about 100 employees. One of the things that he does really well is during the interview, when he's kind of at a point, I know I'm going to hire this person, and you can do this at all levels of the organization. What are a couple things you do for fun? What are the couple things that bother you and cause conflict in your life, right? And he goes, and I don't need big answers. I don't need anything depth. And he's got a little roster then that he can go back to, so he can ask more specific questions, and would say to Rob, Rob, how's that coaching that you're doing? I coach baseball a lot in basketball, and it's Rob, how's baseball doing this year? How's the team doing? Things like that. And it's being a little more specific. So even if they don't tell you good, bad, or otherwise, you start to get a sense whether it's frustrating them or, I hasn't been able to coach this year, or gosh, it's been rained out a lot of our games. It's frustrating. It's starting to pile up. We're going to have a lot of games at the end of the year. In fact, I got to talk to you about, that's going to be a scheduling problem. So if you could get a few nuggets about them that you can ask very specific, as opposed to how's it going, and be a little more focused with those questions, I think you'll find, and don't ask them in a yes or no. And if they do say, how's it going? Well, it's going okay. What does okay mean to you? What does that mean? I don't know how to take that. Because when I say okay, I think this is that what you mean? Start that dialogue. Don't let them do one and done with the question. Don't let them be one and done.
The I'm fine is just so easy.
Yeah.
All right.
People, we're
Taylor,
complex. We're complex.
yes. Taylor, there's a question. When an employee is dealing with a very legitimate issue, such as abusive romantic relationship,
Yep.
would you suggest, would you say that as the manager owner, that we should suggest seeking professional help? There's always that fear of overstepping. And I personally always have the fear of getting invested in their personal drama.
Yeah, again, really good question. I have to, for a minute, I'm going to take off the one hat and put the HR hat on right now, right? So yes, know your boundaries. Yes, be careful of the advice. I would say I'm here to listen, and I would love if you want to talk, I'm here for you to talk. I would be less about giving information back to them, but then I would suggest first, before we go to you need counseling, or I recommend you go get a counselor. Again, sometimes we slow walk people, right, to the right solution. Let's not get them completely out of their comfort zone. Let's stretch their comfort zone. Who do you have in your life that you can talk to or that you're talking to about now? And I don't need a name, but do you have somebody? No, my parents are this, or I can't talk to this. Okay, do you have a friend that you could phone and call? And if not, if not, I would like to help you look for resources to do that. I'm not qualified to do it. I'll always listen to you, but I'm not qualified to help. But I am concerned for your safety, and I want you to keep in mind your safety is paramount, right? So please take what you're telling me seriously and make sure that you're doing something to protect yourself right away. Then we can work for a longer term resolution, and I can help facilitate that process, but I'm probably not the person who's going to give you all the answers, but I can certainly help you in your journey, and I will be with you. And that way the professional takes over, the association that can help them takes over, their family, trusted family member takes over, but you're still ushering them through the process, encouraging them, being sympathetic when they come back to work the next day. And I hope things are working out for you. You don't bring it up if they don't, but you give a lead in that says, I hope things are really working out for you. I really appreciate that you trusted me in this. And I'm supporting you and I'm thinking of you a lot. Well, here's what's happening now. Okay, let's go talk about that. But mostly you're listening. Mostly you're listening.
No, that's good. And I've been in that situation before. One of my staffers actually was kidnapped by her significant other. And I got a text that said, call the cops, I'm being held. This is the location. And I went,
Wow. Wow.
It's not something that you expect to have happen.
Yeah, I certainly have had many counselings about abusive relationship, but I have not had that. That's very scary. That's very scary.
Yeah, it's always interesting the things that we get into when we care for dogs. So
yeah.
Ooh, Kira, this is a good one. On the compassion side, how would you approach something healthy or safety wise with pet parents of your clients that you are noticing, given that what we do is tough to not care when we see it, but it's also tough to know where your boundaries are?
Yeah, that's so to make sure I understand the question right, you're seeing that the animal, the pet, may be in jeopardy of being potentially abused or something like that, or not in a healthy environment. Is that my understanding the question correctly?
Safety wise with the pet parents of your clients. Yeah.
Okay. I'm saying know the person. Making sure I want to understand the question correctly.
Oh, yep. Hold on. Let me click down here. I don't want to give it a smiley face. Sorry. Oh, no, the person.
Okay.
So not the pet, but the pet owner.
Owner, maybe. Okay. Yeah,
So,
that's a little more. Go ahead.
and I think I'm following you, like, you are suspecting things are going on at home that are abusive or unhealthy. And you see it, it's plain as day. Where's your responsibility, or where is that compassion line?
Yeah. Tough one, because I think it depends on, who's involved, and, is there children involved, and there's a lot of other pieces to this. But I think bringing a subtle awareness to them, just assuming for a moment that some people are busy or just won't see it themselves, they won't let themselves see it. I think you do, keeping in mind you have a business to run, right? And you don't want to offend anybody. But I think you do mention it in a way of a suggestion, say, I'm curious about this, so I just thought I'd point it out to you, and then see where it kind of takes you from there. Is there another step? Is it continuing? Is there a pattern of this? Is it a one-time incident? And see how they react, because you're going to have to react somewhat to their reaction. Unfortunately, it might be out of purview, but if I was running the business, that's the way I would approach it. I would not, though, completely ignore it and say that's a business risk for me. That's a risk I would take, but I would do it as a suggestion, almost like this is an observation I just happened to make, and I just wanted to make you aware of that and see how they react from there. That was the first step I would take. But that's a really
so maybe the comment is, Fluffy doesn't seem nearly as excited or happy when dad drops off versus when you drop off.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely say that there's an observation I would make, and I would see how they react, as I said. But if the reaction is more of a curious as, what do you mean? This is what I'm seeing, and history from here tells me this. So you're not isolating like they're the only ones you're focused on, but saying history tells me this in the business. So I just wanted to share that concern because we've seen that before, and this is how we are. That may or may not be the situation with you, but then you're not singling them out, but you're also saying, look, there's an issue here. You got to open your eyes, right? You got to open your eyes to it.
Yeah, there's a new certification. You can actually be a dog mediator now for families that are in counseling. Because typically the dog adds frustration when a family is in turmoil. And so you can actually offer dog training, but you're called a dog mediator to help the family while they're in family counseling.
Well, I have friends, unfortunately, who are divorcing, and they have been arguing over months of the possession of the dog, who gets to have the dog. And now it is, but they both, they don't have children. They have a dog that they've had for a long time, and neither one's budging on it. And so this is, I'm interested to see how this turns out. But I don't
Welcome
mean to
to
make
our
light of it.
world, Rob.
Yeah, I don't mean to
Welcome
make
to
light
our-
of it, but isn't that the challenge though that you have too? Is the people the pets you're serving, they talk to you probably in different ways, but not verbally, but they send you signals, right?
Yep.
But you can't just sit down and have a conversation, get a straight answer. You got to go observations, process your experience, all has to go in the equation to figure out the situation. Can't help but only add more stress and strain, right? On days, right?
Correct.
You know,
Correct.
if it was a child, you could ask.
Yep. Yep. Oh, Zach has a good question. How do you break up with a client that is constantly bringing you and your staff down? Here's a work-life balance question right there.
Yeah, I have to tell you, so, and Eve knows this from our past experience prior, that I was in human resources. I took over sales in the organization, and I had to go to the CEO and say, we're actually going to fire our largest customer, who did millions of dollars of business with us, because they simply wouldn't allow us to make money with them. It wasn't a mutually beneficial relationship. By the way, that customer came back to us 14 months later. But I think for you, I mean, part of this is a business decision, right? And, there's been some challenges in the business in the last year or so, right?
Yeah.
But if it's going to take you to a place where your employees aren't going to feel respected, and you're having to appease somebody constantly in the strain and stress on yourself, I think there's a price to that too. And especially how hard it is to get talent. If this person's being willfully and intentional about being difficult, and it's not just a one time or twice, and you can't seem to turn them, I would cut bait. I would absolutely leave them. And I think you'll score a lot of points with your employee. And we don't go out and say that was a bad customer, we don't want them ever again. We sit there and say, I won't allow my customers to do that to my people. I will not do that. I value you too much. I appreciate you too much. We're in this together, and I won't let anybody break that bond. They're not going to do it, right? Trust, relationship equity.
No, absolutely. And I've been in that position.
It's just amazing. These are great questions. And the challenge, just this, I envision the challenges that you walk in, like I say, every day, all the more reason to use the Eve method of saying, what's my win when I come in, right? Start on a positive, and same thing when you drive home. You gotta do a little of this. You got to.
Yeah, it's I don't know where I got it from, or if I've just, twisted some ideologies around, but yeah, I have to walk in the door and say, this is going to be my win today. And
But do one more thing.
Yeah.
What's our win today? Let's win together. Let's have your staff win every day, not just you, because that'll help. But let's all win today. What was our win today? And when they're going home, hey, what was your win today? I think your win was this. What do you think your win was? Be surprised. It'll take a little while because they'll be uncomfortable with that at first. They'll get there. Ask them before they leave today. Hey, tell me what your win was, right? Because I'm going to start off by telling them what their win was, right? The first few weeks. Then start saying, hey, what do you think your win was today? I would love to hear you guys do that and get some feedback on that.
That even sounds like a whiteboard that I could put right where they clock in and out, and they can just write it out at the end of their shift. What was your win today? And everybody write down their thing.
The old saying was, kill them with kindness, kill them with positivity. camel
Absolutely.
productivity.
Absolutely. That always gets to everybody, right? When you walk in and everything's positive. That's why I play reggae in the middle of the day, because you can't be sad or upset listening to reggae music.
There you go. There you go. That's awesome.
Absolutely. I think we've covered everybody's questions. Rob, I want to thank you for taking an hour out of your night to chat with all of us in the animal care industry. Compassion fatigue is something that we deal with on so many levels. It's tough. And then for everybody, if you would like more information on Rob, you can go to our Facebook page, Dog Handler Academy, and we'll put a link for his info on there. Rob has written a book. So Rob, give us your you've got a couple of books out there.
Yeah, I've written a book called The Culture Factor. It's available on our webpage, which is www.cultureatwork.net. That's cultureatwork.net. Writing my second book right now, and that's going really, really well. And if someone does, and I have with a couple people here, probably in the association, if you want any kind of personal coaching, we are available to do that, and we can do that in a couple of different ways. Some people say, I'd like that on a monthly basis for a year. Some people say, I just need a couple quick sessions, and I think I'll be on the right track. We're open to either, and we will do those in the evenings if necessary with you, if that works better for your schedule. It can even be... we've even done them crazy, and we've even done them on a Saturday night. So we'll meet with your schedule and we'll figure it out, because that's balance, right? It's balance for you. So I appreciate you guys very much for being here. Your courage for being an entrepreneur, your care for animals, your compassion for them. Be compassionate to each other. Use this network that's available, and call each other, talk to each other, care for each other, support each other. It's really great stuff. And thank you, Eve, for addressing this topic. It is a big, big topic in the world. So you guys are amazing. Eve, I've known you a long time. Continue to be amazed by your work. Kristen in the background, thank you for all you've done. And I hope this has been at least of some value too. So thank you so much for being here and the great questions.
Yeah, I love the actionable items. I feel that I have some new things to implement. As much as I like to think that I know, I always need to learn more and do more, and that's always super important. So
check
thanks,
on
everybody.
each other in a few days. Check on each other in a few days and make sure you're
Yes.
putting that plan and you're in action. So we do it. We don't just think it, we do it. So great group.
Absolutely. Well, hey, everybody, I'm going to chime in on the Dog Handler Academy Facebook page in a couple of days. I'm going to do a Facebook Live, check in on all of you so you can check in on with me. And I will tell you, Rob does hold me accountable. He will randomly send me a text message and ask me how I'm doing. Am I sleeping? Am I eating right? Am I doing stuff? So find yourself a Rob. And if you can't, you can certainly borrow mine. I certainly enjoy our friendship and appreciate it immensely. So with that, everybody, you have a great night. Get some sleep. Take care, guys. See you later.
Be happy. Bye-bye.